Hello and welcome to Combat Talk Podcast. My name is Ciryl Gane, a pleasure to talk to you always. And this is the official prediction for UFC 265's main event for the interim heavyweight championship of the UFC. Derrick, the Black Beast Lewis, takes on Ciryl Gane. Before we give our prediction, I just want to break down a few things, talk about it, and then officially give my prediction. We have a stacked card, ladies and gentlemen, followed by the co-main event of Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz, followed by Michael Chiesa takes on Vicente Luque in the welterweight division. But we are not here for that. We can do that in a whole nother video. We are here for the prediction video of the big fights and the big weight, the heavyweights. For the interim UFC heavyweight belt, we have Derrick the Black Beast Lewis takes on Ciryl Gane. Let's get into the prediction. Okay, Derrick Lewis versus Ciryl Gane. As a stylistic fight, it's a really fun fight. But given the fight that's in it, of a type for the interim belt, I'm just going to give my opinion on it. My opinion, I really disagree that it's for the interim belt. I really think ever since Derrick Lewis a few months back knocked out Curtis Blades, that should have been the immediate next for the belt. Even Stipe gets the immediate rematch, but if there was someone next for the belt, that should have been Derrick Lewis. He's coming off a win streak, and I'm not giving any doubt to Ciryl Gane. We're going to get into that later, but just on Derrick Lewis, I feel like he should have got the title shot straight after that. It's a great fight, and it's a big deal, especially for Ciryl Gane. But on the Derrick Lewis point, I think the pressure is more on him. This is in the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, the hometown of Derrick Lewis. The amount of pressure he is getting in front of his home city for a title fight. That's probably the biggest fight of his career. That taking away his first title shot, UFC 230 versus Daniel Cormier, which he unfortunately lost. But his improvement from that, he's learned so much from that. But we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about the fight this Saturday. There's so much things into it, and if Derrick Lewis wants to get this win, there were a few keys to victory here that he has to do. Okay, one big key in this fight I think Derrick Lewis needs to do, he needs to close the distance. He needs to keep Ciryl Gane on the back fence. He needs to keep him under pressure. He needs to keep him always thinking that he's going to be throwing that right hand. He can't keep it on the distance. He can't keep Ciryl Gane coming at him. He can't be the counter striker in this fight. And I know he needs to keep stamina because, look, I'm going to give my whole prediction on how I see this fight at the end of this video, but on this key to victory, he needs to close the distance. He can't keep it as a strike fest because that's Ciryl Gane's bread and butter. His bread and butter is a calm strike fest, fighting where he is comfortable. Keep it calm, don't make it as a brawl. It's a whole brawler versus traditional technical kickboxer, basically. So Derrick Lewis needs to keep this on the aggressor point. He needs to keep him up against the cage. He needs to close the distance. That's what he needs to do. I feel like that's a big point in getting the win. He needs to keep him knowing that he's always going to be ready to throw that right hand, because everybody knows that one right hand from Derrick Lewis and you're going to sleep. So closing the distance with him being with shorter length and being even the shorter fighter, that's a big key to victory that he needs to do. And patience is a big key. He needs to be very patient. I know he wants to put on a big show for the fans in his hometown. Derrick Lewis needs to be patient. He needs to set up his strikes. He needs to wait for him to come to him, but not be the counter puncher, if that makes any sense. He needs to just think of it as a way of the way he took out Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades was coming at him. He was throwing some nice leg kicks, trying to mix it up. Went in for the takedown, walked into an uppercut. It happens from there, and that is a big way how he is the power puncher in this fight. He needs to be very patient. 5 rounds. He said that he's in the best condition of his life. He needs to prove that. He needs to keep the cardio knowing if he can go that 25 minutes. So patience, closing the distance. He needs to be patient in this fight. He needs to wait for him to come to him. He needs to try set up his strikes. And because if he really wants to win this, I feel like if he does not be patient and if he brawls at him, swing, bang, if he goes swinging and banging and he keeps missing his strikes, he's walking into the trap of Ciryl Gane. He really, really is. And his weight advantage. He's coming in as the bigger guy. That he needs to use that. And everybody knows, seeing from the 6 fights that we saw from Ciryl Gane, he likes to grapple. He likes to put you up against it in the clinch. So one thing that, a big advantage of Derrick Lewis, he is the stronger guy. He's coming in, I'd like to think maybe 10-15 pounds heavier. He likes to come in a bit under the weight limit at like 264 to 264.5. He needs to use that. I feel like one big way for Derrick Lewis to win this fight as well, use his weight. Even in the clinch, show that he's the bigger man and even tire him out on the clinch. Whatever he can do, because swinging and banging is not going to work against Ciryl Gane. That is one way I don't see it happening. This can really go either way, but on the Derrick Lewis point, he needs to be patient, he needs to use his weight, and he needs to close the whole distance of the fight to get the victory and become the interim champ. Now, keys to victory for Ciryl Gane. This fight is very hard to call. It could either go a very technical kickboxing standpoint, fighting very comfortably as a mixed martial artist from Ciryl Gane, or it could be a quick swinging right hand finish from Derrick Lewis. It could really go either way, and I feel like if Ciryl Gane could fight the way he was, especially the way he fought up against I really like to reflect on his last 2 wins, Rosenstruck and Volkov. Very, very technical. We saw way more from him. Well, it was, both were 5 rounds. We only saw around a round and 1/2 when he fought Junior Dos Santos. But I really do like his performances. He put out a great statement, especially against Volkov, a very, very technical, experienced striker in the heavyweight division. If he fights the way he always does in his, well, from what we all usually saw, if he fights that way against Derrick Lewis, take away all his nerves, he can really, really get this job done. But they are not Derrick Lewis. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is not Derrick Lewis. Alexander Volkov is not Derrick Lewis. Junior Dos Santos is not Derrick Lewis. He does not care. He will just run at you, go for the swing. But Derrick Lewis cannot do this. With the pressure on his shoulders, I would love to be wrong, but I really do think that the pressure is going to Derrick Lewis. I think the pressure is going to his shoulders, that he's in his hometown fighting for a belt. But I don't think it's easy for Ciryl Gane. I think Ciryl Gane knows that he has a whole country behind him. He said himself that he is nervous. So I would love to be wrong by saying this, but I feel like pressure is reflecting each fighter, which can cause a lack of performance because the crowd's on them. But Derrick Lewis has done this before. And that's why I see Derrick Lewis winning. I see Derrick Lewis winning due to experience. As much as can I see Ciryl Gane being perfect against an explosive striker, can I see Ciryl Gane being very, very technical and doing what's best for him against a fighter who was not the same as a technical standpoint? There was a big comparison from Alexander Volkov and Jairzinho Rozenstruik then to the fight style of Derrick Lewis. No, I don't. I see Derrick Lewis winning this. I see a very, very close fight, but eventually a finish. I feel like it's only a matter of time until he lands that right hand in maybe the first 3 rounds. And I would not be mad if I was wrong, because he is really the future. He could be the future of the UFC's heavyweight division or in mixed martial arts. He is young and he is very new, a bit unexperienced, and that's what I feel of a standpoint of him losing this fight. It is a very hard fight to call, but I'm going with Lewis, and it's going to be a fun one.